history only, written with winner's ink, is a glorious lie. We are told about the unshakable glory of Rome, steel discipline of the legions and marble, between the columns, Senate wisdom. But on the other side of this glittering coin, buried deep in the Mediterranean, name tried to be deleted from history, a huge shadow lies. Card, 241 years before Christ. This ancient Phoenician city, the only lord of the seas. Not just a war, he lost 1,000 years of honor. End of the First Punic War. Card, it was the beginning of a slow and painful extinction for the famous circular port cotton, the heart of Carthage. Exotic goods from all over the world. Not the center of shame. Roma, he did not only take his lands from this giant he defeated, smothered them with heavy war reparations, burned their navy, and an honorable people. He became a refugee in his own home. Hunger lurks behind the city walls. In the corridors of the Carthage assembly, whispers of surrender were rising. Aristocratler, at the mercy of Rome, looking for ways to survive. A spark of anger would shine through the ashes. This spark is in the steep mountains of Sicily, a rebel general who uprooted the Roman legions. Hamilton was in Barca's eyes. Peace for Hamilton. Just. It was the necessary preparation phase for a larger war. Political fragmentation inside Carthage. Fracture was the biggest obstacle in front of Hamilton. Parliament have feared to anger Rome. But for the Barcas, fear was just a strategic mistake. Hamilton, taking his loyal soldiers with him, despite the objections of the Parliament, his route to the west, turned it into the wild and rich lands of Spain. This would be where Carthage would be reborn. Silver mines in the depths of Spain. Not just a source of wealth to get into the throat of Rome, the first links of the gold chain. After years of bloody struggles, Hamilton Carr built the new cardboard in Cartagonova. Army established here. It was different from the old structure of mercenaries. These soldiers were bound by unwavering loyalty to the Barca. Hamilton is not just a colony in Spain. The heart of Rome, designed like a spearhead to stick. Young Hannibal, sword sounds in this war camp his father built. Grew up with the smell of metal and the hatred of Rome. Its playground, dusty barracks. His teachers were the toughest generals in the world. Not just the art of war, teaching you to sacrifice everything for a cause. 237 before Christ. In the smoky and mysterious atmosphere of Carthage temples, history was about to change direction, just before Hamilton sailed to Spain. 9-year-old son Hannibal, called in front of an ancient altar, the only sound that echoes among the temple's huge pillars. Crackling of burning torches. Hamilcar. He put a heavy bronze dagger in the little boy's hand. Father's hand. It was like a huge burden on the boy's shoulder. "Swear," she said. His voice is as cold as a grave, and it was as hard as a storm. "You will be the eternal enemy of Rome. Never kneel to them, and to avenge Carthage. Swear before the gods." Little Hannibal, feeling the dagger's cold metal in his hands. Not a childish fear in your eyes. There was a pure fire bearing his father's inheritance. On that day in the temple, not just a promise. A nightmare Rome will never forget for centuries. This oath was born, blood circulating in Hannibal's veins. He would be himself. There was no turning back for him. The destruction of Rome, or completed by the end of Carthage. After Hamilton's death, the Carthaginian army shouted a single name without hesitation. Hannibal, he is now out of his father's shadow. A leader ready to create his own storm. 219 years before Rome. Allied city with red line, When you surround my Saguntum, the world held its breath. It's not just a siege. It was a glove thrown to Rome. After 8 months of fierce fighting, when the walls collapsed, diplomacy tables were also destroyed. When the ambassadors of Rome came to the Carthage assembly, peace was no longer an option. In the famous scene, the Roman envoy lifted his cape into the air, addressed to the aristocrats of Carthage. Peace between the folds of this cape. There is also war. I will leave whichever you choose. Answer of Carthaginians. It was the moment Hannibal had been waiting for years. Leave whichever you want. The envoy shook his cloak and said he was quitting the war. The greatest moment the ancient world has ever seen, and the bloodiest chessboard was set up. Hannibal wouldn't wait for Rome to come to him. He would take the war to the door of Rome. Rome awaits Hannibal's navy in the Mediterranean. He made the biggest strategic mistake in his history, because he chose a path that no one could have imagined: the Alps army. Their elephants and all their hopes to the sky. Does not pass, drove to the heights. Nature waged a war on Hannibal as hard as Rome. Freezing cold, hunger, huge cliffs, and ambushes of indigenous tribes swallowed thousands of soldiers and elephants. When soldiers on the brink of rebellion, Hannibal carved that legendary word into the pages of history: either we find a way or we open a way. After days of freezing darkness, when the fog dissipates, against them lay the green plains of Italy, the top of the Hannibal Alps. He turned to his tired and exhausted army and pointed down. Here is the heart of Rome, he said. But this is not just the beginning of a war, one of the greatest breaking points of the ancient world. He crossed the Hannibal Mountains. But your destiny is, and preparing for a broken empire. The exam was just beginning. History once in these crowned peaks changed direction more. This is Fractured Empires. Subscribe and history. Remember to share these dark breaking points.